Um, Thank you very much for joining us for the second episode of YCP's new virtual monthly series, Refiner's Fire. I'm Heather Lachenauer, and it's my pleasure to be your host today. I am a proud National Board Member for Young Catholic Professionals, and I strive to live YCP's motto of working in witness for Christ in my professional vocation. I have experience as a litigator, as an appellate advocate, as an educator, and I currently serve as General Counsel of the University of Dallas. Every month, Catholic business leaders from diverse industries will share professional and spiritual wisdom in short 30-minute live sessions as part of this Refiner's Fire series. That's why we're calling this a micro interview series. In spite of the short length of the segments, we hope that these tips and insights will be really powerful for all of us as we strive to work and witness for Christ this year. Let's talk briefly about the name for this series, the Refiner's Fire. The phrase actually comes from Scripture, from Malachi 3, verse 2, where we learn that God is like a refiner's fire, who seeks to purify us and to make us the best we can be. And that's the whole point of this series. Through the inspiration and wisdom of exceptional Catholic leaders and their experiences, we will be challenged to improve in small ways in our professional and spiritual lives. Topics each month will be really relevant and helpful, like how to manage our relationship with our boss, or how to improve our professional etiquette and executive presence. So let's all of us be open to this journey of refinement, especially since we're entering the season of Lent right now. And I wanted to wish everyone a blessed and holy Ash Wednesday today too, so that in everything we do as we're being refined, we do it to aim for that higher standard of excellence that gives God glory. Our topic this month has to do with optimizing team talents. What does that really mean? Developing the talents of your team is essential to the success of your organization. When the motivations of your teammates are aligned, productivity and engagement improves. Our talents are gifts from God, meant to be used for His glory. An awareness of your strengths and how you can grow is important for the kingdom and for your own sanctification. As St. Catherine of Siena said, "Be who God made you to be, and you will set the world ablaze." Well, I can't think of a better person to speak on this topic than Tim Busch. From practicing law and real estate to founding Catholic schools and wineries, Tim Busch has done it all. Tim has been an attorney in Orange County, California, for over 35 years, and he is the founder of the Busch Firm, which specializes in tax and corporate law and the representation of religious organizations. He also has affiliations in private operating and real estate companies such as Pacific Hospitality Group and the Meritage Collection. Other highlights to Tim's many accomplishments include the title of co-founder of the Napa Institute, the Magis Institute, the Napa Legal Institute, and grandfather to 7 little ones. Talk about someone who is setting the world ablaze. Welcome, Tim. We are so honored to have you today.
Thank you, Heather. I was glad to be here on this Ash Wednesday as we begin a new Lent. Seems like Christmas just ended.
I know, doesn't it? Well, and it's cold enough in Dallas today where I am to be Christmas. So let's jump right in. As Catholic professionals, why does this topic matter for us as we begin a new year? Why did you choose to talk about this topic, Tim?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an interesting one. We're in for 4 years of difficulty challenging our beliefs and our faith, ironically through a Catholic president. But we're going to talk today about really 3 areas: how you align yourself with in a secular world, which most of us operate in, and how you might align yourself with your friends that you associate with, where you have a little bit more opportunity to discern. And thirdly, is in a nonprofit religious corporation like the University of Dallas or Napa Institute or Magis Institute, there's a whole different set of circumstances, and you can discern who you associate with and how you do business.
Mhm. So what does a truly optimized team look like at work? And how can we apply this through our Catholic faith, through the lens that we see the world in?
Well, first, I think as Catholics, we have to understand in a secular world, we cannot discriminate against people that have beliefs that are different than ours. But that doesn't mean we can't have our beliefs. I think there's some confusion there. When you interview people that may not share the beliefs of marriage and of life and of heterosexual relationships and so forth, doesn't mean you can't have those beliefs. And so I think we need to make sure that we're not discriminating against those who may not share those beliefs, but we don't have to give up our beliefs. But I found, regardless of people's beliefs as they come into a company, it's important by example and by conversation that you hold those beliefs. And many times there's an opportunity for conversion. Many opportunities for conversion, but at least respecting each other's opinion as to their beliefs.
Thank you. So just as a reminder for our listeners, we'll be taking questions from Tim live after I ask him a few questions. So please be thinking of your question to post in the chat for Tim. So the next question, Tim, is how do you assess prospective new team members in interviews and reference calls? What kinds of questions do you ask, and what kind of attributes do you look for in your team members?
Yeah, we have a program called market-based management that is a management style. And when we interview candidates, we do it individually. And so everybody's interviewing the candidate individually, not as a group. I don't recommend interviewing as a group. It's sometimes more efficient, but it's not as effective. And then all of us come back together and have a challenge, and each of us are appointed different responsibilities, like virtue is one responsibility. Capabilities is another responsibility. Their background, looking at their resume, where have they been? How long have they been there? If they're moving around jobs all the time, that's not a good sign. And that maybe there's a good reason, and if there is, fine. But if not, you kind of, sometimes we're all rushing to hire somebody, but you realize that to get somebody in an organization that isn't aligned with the rest of the culture, you got a big problem on your hands, and so you just want to be very, very careful.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do after you've hired someone to develop your new team members? And what advice would you give to our members, to YCP members who are seeking and finding ways to grow so that they could be a better asset in their place of work?
Well, there's a couple of questions there. First, as I said earlier, I am not apologetic about my Catholic faith. In my office is a Marian statue and a crucifix, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop you from having that. That's your religious right. That's your religious freedom. So don't let people bully you into, getting to the least common denominator, which is atheism. We have our faith, and we have a right to our faith. But at the same time, I think it's important to get to know people as people. And that could be over lunch, a cup of coffee, or just we have catch-ups, we call them, where we just sit down and catch up with people. It might take 10 minutes, it might take 30 minutes about their business and what's going on in their family. And it's a great opportunity also to pray to your guardian angel, to pray to their guardian angel, so that you have more collaboration. Everybody has a guardian angel. We think that's an elementary school hoax, but it's actually real. And your guardian angel can help you a lot of times get through difficult conversations with other people that may not share the same views that you have about where the culture is going.
So what would you say you do in terms of developing team members to kind of fit into the culture, or to help them to understand the culture that you've brought them into?
Yeah, we have, again, back to market-based management, we have 10 principles, and they're all really Catholic virtues, although they were originated by a non-Catholic. But the things like respect and fulfillment and integrity, this is all part of principled entrepreneurship that NAP Institute promotes in its fall conference in October. And trying to, these are virtues, and they happen to be totally aligned to the Catholic faith, but they're not Catholic. They're rooted in faith, but they're used in the secular world, and people are really aligned to them. And so those guiding principles are very critical, and we train all new team members, and we continue to train team members that have been there for 5 or 10 years about each one of these principles. The HR department every week goes through one of the principles and talks about what does it mean to respect other people? What does that mean, or what does it look like?
So would you say, Tim, that it's just as important for people who are either in a job right now or seeking a job to cultivate personal virtue as it is to cultivate the specific kind of, if you would, trade skill that they have to do their job in order to be a good team member?
They're both important, but without good virtues, your capabilities are not of any value. And it doesn't matter what your alignment is. People want to be treated with respect. They want quality and competency. And so the virtue is critical to the survival of any business, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit business. And sometimes we say, well, I'm not a religious person and this, that, and the other thing, but everybody on their conscience desires to be dealing with somebody that's trustworthy, loyal, and honest. Nobody goes into business and say, hey, I like this guy. He's not honest. It's not something that we do.
So would you say that maybe the top 2 or 3 virtues that you think are important to cultivate to be able to be a good team member would include integrity and respect for others, and what else? Compassion, or what do you think?
Well, I think one of them, I like the word fulfillment, which we as Catholics might call co-creation with God. Part of our job is to put people in the right position where they can succeed. Because it's not just about the money. We all came to work. I mean, when we were born to create, co-create with our creator. And that's what we call work. And if we don't have work that's fulfilling, we will never have joy. And so it's very important that when you see a team member struggling in a position, to sit down with them and say, is there something you can change in order to be successful? Or maybe we put you in a position that you're just not naturally going to be successful, and we need to put you in another position where you would shine. Maybe you're not outgoing and you're in a sales position. That may not be the right fit. And so we try to be very careful about, when we interview, understanding that person's wiring. How is it that they get up in the morning? What do they like to do? Do they like controversy, or do they like to just kind of take it easy and not have any adversarial relationships? Probably not a good thing for a litigator to not be willing to do adversarial situations.
No, but you can do it in a way that's civil and not quite
Absolutely.
as aggressive or contentious. I think it actually probably goes against human nature in some way to be contentious with other people. It kind of gives most people a really like a hard feeling in the pit of their stomach to be contentious with others. So even as a litigator, I think that there's a place for civility and that fulfillment that you're talking about if you cultivate virtue as a personal aspiration, right?
Exactly. And but there are some people that get up in the morning and knowing that they're facing that kind of adversarial relationship, they're sick. And so we have to. But you're right. There's so much can be accomplished with civility that is not accomplished with combating people.
So actually that leads right into our next question. How do we apply what we've discussed in today's cultural environment, knowing that, we've had so many governmental changes, societal upheaval, the COVID virus and challenges in the church. There's lots of stress that people are under. So how would we apply what we're talking about today in that context?
Well, this pandemic, I'm in the hospitality business, so we're one of the major industries that are being impacted by this thing. And it looks like it's going to be over in a few months with the vaccination. But the worst part of all this lockdown is the lack of personal exchange, the anxiety, the addiction, the abuse, many things that are happening that is so much more significant than the COVID infections and the COVID death. I happen to have COVID, had it 2 months ago, and it was very mild for me. On the other hand, I've got a team member who's fighting for his life who's 20 years younger than me. So it impacts everybody differently. But we're also, the election obviously stirred things up last year. And we're in, as I alluded to, we're in an environment that's going to be even more hostile, especially to nonprofits. And so I think it's important, if you're in a nonprofit or working for a nonprofit, to make sure that you don't surrender your religious rights. This is one of the strongest protections we have in our Constitution. And we have a court, federal courts, as well as Supreme Court, that's ready, willing, and able to back it up. And by the way, many of the liberal justices have supported religious liberty, like Hosanna Tabor was a 9-0 opinion. So he had to have 4 liberal justices at that particular time. There's 3 now. And so we have rights. Don't surrender those rights. And we were talking, I started an organization called Napa Legal Institute. And you could go to their website, and we're just about ready to release a program for nonprofits that gives them all the tools they need in order to protect their rights, by in ways of employment contracts, bylaws, articles, human resource manuals. Whatever you need is going to be there, and it's all codified to 50 states. And this is something I've been dreaming about for 10 years, and Napa's been around, Napa Legal has been around for 2, and they've got it all done. It'll be 1.0 version, so there's going to be a lot more things we can add to it later. But in the secular world, we have to be respectful of others, but they have to be respectful of us as well. And we can't just surrender our faith and say, the government says we can't do this. That the government does not say that. So I think we're in for better times. I can remember a year ago, Ash Wednesday, I was coming back from Naples, Florida for my last conference before the pandemic hit. And I was reflecting on the fact that we've been at this almost 11 months. I would have never thought it would last this long.
No, I don't think anyone would have thought that, Tim. It's been quite a year, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been horrendous. Yeah.
Just another reminder for our listeners, we will be taking questions for Tim live in just a few minutes. So be thinking of your questions to post in the chat for Tim. And so now we come to the last question that I have for you right now. And that is, what would your wish or your challenge for young Catholic workers be as it relates to this topic?
Well, don't surrender your faith, but use prayer, prayer for teammates, prayer for yourself, and, rely on your guardian angel. They're real. And this is very simple. I was telling a priest yesterday who was preparing for his homily today, I said, tell your people, keep it simple. Go to Mass, pray the rosary daily, go to confession regularly. This is not that complicated. Grace comes to you, and you can't see it, but through faith and through the accepting the sacraments, you become a better person. And I think the daily self-examination that St. Ignatius began is another way to reflect, what did I do today that I could have done better? And is there somebody that maybe I irritated that I could apologize to? The greatest thing we can do is communicate with people, especially people that we don't agree with, or we don't particularly like, or who do not like us. because when you have conversation with people that you can call them your enemies or your adversaries or whatever you want, people down to earth, they all want to get along. And I think that's the opportunity we have to, offer the olive branch.
Thank you so much for that reflection. I think you're right, Tim. I think that the best thing that we can probably do as workers in the vineyard, right, no matter what task we do, is to try and work on our relationship with God, to draw near to Him and to give Him glory in whatever it is that we're doing, right? So all of those pieces of advice are certainly really helpful, I think, that we can, we are an integral whole as a person. We don't leave our faith at the door, no matter where we go to work. So that's a big part of this too, is just knowing who we are, knowing our Catholic identity, and being able to live that, not necessarily in the words that we use, but in the way that we treat each other and the actions that we engage in, right?
Yes, absolutely.